Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Wednesday. It's Daryl here. It is bright and freaking early, man. It's 3 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. Okay, this morning I came across three different stories that I really want to talk about. One is about Yee and starting a new adult themed business, and another one was about Alec Baldwin and what happened to him in a coffee shop. The third one is about JELLYROLL and his wife, Bunny XO, and what she said. The link to I'm going to talk about this particular one. I'll probably do two more videos. So I'll talk about all three of these stories. I'd really like to talk. Usually I pick a story that I can relate to, that I have a strong opinion about. Usually it's something that I have experience with that I could share with you guys from my perspective, something that I've actually dealt with firsthand. And I'm going to talk about JELLYROLL. I've said this before. I live in Connecticut, in New England, and there just is not a whole lot of country music up here. Country music is just really not a thing here. There's probably one country music station in all of this, in this entire state. Most of it is old rock and what they call alternative rock. Most of the state or dance music, top 40. I think there's one country music station. So I'm not very familiar with JELLYROLL, but I do have something in common with him. I was overweight and picked on when I was a kid. Now the link down below is from TMZ, and it's his wife talking about how JELLYROLL has stayed away from social media because of he's constantly getting picked on or advised about his being overweight. I look at JELLYROLL, like I said, I was overweight as a kid, and I'll talk about that shortly. When I look at him, I'm not a doctor or a physician or anything, but when I look at him, I really think this might be more than, it might be a medical thing. That's just off the top of my head. I don't know if it's just, his lifestyle, but that's not what this video is about. So Bunny XO his wife talks about how he's the sweetest guy in the world, and he stays away from social media. And she says, you really got to think twice before you start picking on people on the internet, and because you don't know where they are mentally, and this could, it leaves a scar. It scars people, and I could testify to this. I can't imagine. Like I said, I'm 58 years old, and this happened up until the time I was about 14 years old. I was overweight, and I was a quiet guy, and I still remember to this day. It still bothers me. It still affects me to this day of what happened to me back then. I'll talk about that in a second. I mean, I remember specific instances from 50 years ago, and I can't even imagine if social media, there was no social media whatsoever. We had a telephone on the wall, and that was it. And we had three television stations on the TV. ABC, NBC, and CBS. That was it. Three stations and a telephone on the wall, and that was the extent of our social media, I guess you could call it. And I can't imagine. I might not even be here if because it took a toll on me then. Let me fill you guys in. Even here on this channel, I've told you guys before, I have to pick a special time to read your comments. When I first started this channel, I pretended like I read your comments all the time, and I see you. No, I have to pick a time when I'm in the right frame of mind to read them. And I'll tell you another secret I've never told you guys before. When I go through the comments, I kind of almost close my eyes and scan through very slowly, and I'll just read the first couple words, and I'm kind of familiar with who has negative comments and who has positive comments, and if I start to get the sense that it's going to be a negative comment, a lot of times I'll skip over it. A lot of times I can't. I have to read it, and these things stick with me. It affects, it scars people. It really does, and sooner or later they'll come back to you, and that's the point I'm going to make right now. I was an overweight kid. I've always been very tall. I was the tallest guy in my class, and I was very quiet. I grew up out in the woods. My father was the park ranger in the state park, and I grew up in the state house. And the school bus had to come out of its way. Like, I lived way out at the very edge of, like at the very border of town. So the school bus would pick everybody else up, then come down and pick me up, and then go back to school. But here's the thing: when people were going home, it was reversed. So people they'd have to go all the way down to my house, and all the kids got so angry on the bus because the bus had to go all the way out of its way to drop me off, and they took them 10 minutes longer to get home and to go outside and play and ride bikes and whatever we used to do back then. And I used to catch flack for this every day, and then it didn't help that I was overweight. My father taught me to box he died when I was 9 years old from terminal brain cancer. And I put pictures on here before of me actually boxing, left, right, left, right. We used to watch the Wild World of Sports, but he passed away when I was 9 years old, and I never really understood. I knew the basics of how to protect myself, but he didn't get to teach me the next level of when to, of actually interacting with other guys and defending myself. He started to teach me the basics, but he passed away before I could really get all of his knowledge. And I used to get picked on a lot. And I still remember from 50 years ago, I remember these three girls that were on the school bus. And they made it worse because they were girls. And, and I was quiet, and I was taught never to hit women. So I would get picked on unmercifully on the school bus. I remember this one time we were out in the playground, and these three girls started chasing me. And it's the show Batman. The opening theme goes Batman. All right. Well, they were chasing me, and they made a song out of Fat Man. And they're chasing. I still remember this like it was yesterday. This was like 50 years ago, and they're chasing me around the field. And I'm running. I'm trying to get away from them. And I hear them all going da 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 da, fat man, and they're chasing me around, and it gets worse. I learned some moves from my dad, right? So I stop suddenly, and I go to the side, and I put my leg out, and they're running right behind me, and they all just go bam, 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 and trip over my leg, and just go right into the gravel, and they get all banged up. Right? Teacher, they start crying. Teacher comes over. I get in trouble. I have to stay in for like 2 weeks from recess to write on the board. I forgot what I had to write, but this was them picking on me unmercifully. And for 1 second, I got this idea. They're right behind me, chasing me around the field. And I stop and I put my leg out, and because they're chasing me and picking on me, they trip over my leg and get hurt. And I end up staying inside. I still remember this, but wait, it gets better. Now, I remember instances like we're on a school bus, and I was in a ski club, like when I was 10, 12, 11 years old. And we played Truth or Dare on a school bus. And none of the girls wanted to kiss me, to go to do Truth or Dare with me. And it was just the worst feeling. There's like 12, 15 kids in the back of the school bus, all playing Truth or Dare. Like 8 guys, 8 girls. And there's this one girl that's over there that nobody wants to, associate with. And then there's the one guy, the overweight guy that nobody, And, then they start making fun of both of us. Like, the two of you should go together. You two should be a couple, because you're the two outcasts, And I still remember this. But wait, it gets better. So I turned about 14 years old, and I've been picked on to this time. Now, after my dad died, we had to move out of the state house because he was the park ranger, and the house came with the job. It was a big cabin inside the state park, and then he passed away. So we, because it came with the job, the widow and the 2 kids had to get kicked out of the house. So my mother went to work, got a job, and I can't emphasize enough how much I love and respect my mother for becoming the father and mother of my family, for me and my little sister. But we moved to the bad side of the tracks. I've talked about this before, next to the city of Waterbury, and it's the rough part of town. And right at that age, I grew to about like 6'4", 6'5" almost when I hit like 13 years old, and I lost all that weight. I weighed about, I don't know, at that age, I was probably like 160, and 5'10" or something like that, or 5'8". And then I grew like 8 or 9 inches, and I filled out, and I got muscle, I developed within this 1 year from 8th grade to freshman. Also, after my mother started working, we got on our feet after my dad died. She started buying me the in clothes, like the Levi's, the little tag up here, and the Izod shirts and the Nike shoes and everything. So I start freshman year, and I'm just a whole different guy. And I didn't do this on purpose. And the girls are just falling over themselves to date me. I started dating a junior when I'm a freshman. She's one of the most popular juniors, you know, and she's on the volleyball team. And that just increased my stock value, so to speak. All right. So I was about 19 years old. I was still underage, and we would go to the Hilton Hotel, where they had a nightclub. And, this is back in 1984, 85. We'd sneak into the nightclub. And one night I went there with one of my buddies, and I'm all dressed up in my dress shirt, my dress pants, trying to look like I'm 21. I get in there, and those three girls from picked on me all through school are there. And over the night, they start flirting with me. So it's, they ignore my buddy, and I'm sitting there, and the three of them are sitting around me, buying me drinks. I still remember this. I still remember me dancing. They wanted me to dance with them, and I'm dancing, and there's three of the girls around me, and they're falling over each other to get my attention. And I had to bring this up, because it's stuck in my mind. It's like, don't you guys remember, you guys made my life a living hell back, for years back in school. And they're like, no, really? No, we were just kidding around. And that made me even angrier, because they wouldn't even acknowledge how here they are, and the tables have turned, and they won't even acknowledge, like it wasn't nothing to them. Making my life a hell every single day. I didn't want to go to school. I feared getting on the school bus. 50 years later, I still remember this. Here's another thing. Just yesterday, before I even saw this thing about JELLYROLL, it still is on my mind. And I still look these girls up on my phone from time to time. And it's kind of sad. I look them up, and now they're overweight, and now they're divorced. And they're all angry at the world and all this. And I'm in good shape. I'm doing good. And the tables have kind of turned. And from time to time, I kind of hate that I still do this, but I look them up on Facebook, and it gives me an ego boost, because they used to make my life such a hell. And now I look to see where they are, and what they look like. And the tables have completely turned. So I feel for JELLYROLL. I know what this is like. This messes people up. This, you don't realize, but this scars people, especially when you're talking about their physical size or shape, when you're either men or women. It's something they can't change, or it's very hard to change. Some people can't lose weight. With me, it just turned out that way. It was just fate. I ended up growing and just developing. But it's usually something you can't just change, especially like a 10-year-old boy can't just change who he is overnight, and it just made my life miserable. So I wanted to share that with you guys. And I feel for JELLYROLL. I've never listened to his music. I'm not even familiar with him, but I'm sure he's a good man. So the link will be down below for this his wife Bunny XO talking about this. And I will be back doing a video on Alec Baldwin and his relentlessly getting picked on and confronted in a coffee shop. And what I don't think I would have been able I don't think I would have had his patience. And the other one was Ye and his adult business, and my addiction to cross addiction to that. I'll be back with those videos coming up today. You guys have a good Wednesday.